Alright, so I think I'm going to title this video the top 5 worst football boots of 2020, but worst is a strong word, and I don't think all the boots on this list are necessarily bad, but I do think that they've been disappointing. I think that public response maybe hasn't been the greatest in a lot of cases, and also there's some football boots on this list that make you question who would actually buy them over all the other amazing options that are out there. All of which, of course, is brought to you by Pure Grip Socks, available at puregripsocks.com, just $14.99 a pair, available in a wide variety of colorways, the most affordable grip socks on the market. Was that good? Yeah, that was good. Okay, great. So here are the rules. The boots had to come out in 2020. That's pretty straightforward. And historically, when I've talked about the most disappointing boots on this channel, I've included takedown models, but I decided this year that I wouldn't do that. This is exclusively top-end boots, which means that, like I said, not all of these boots are bad. In fact, you could argue that all of these boots have some positive qualities about them, but it's very easy to pick on cheap takedown models, so I'm not going to do that. No limited edition or one-off releases will be included on this list either, which I'm sure some brands will be quite happy about. And as always, I will do my best to explain my reasoning for all of these picks, because whenever I make a video criticizing a football boot in a negative manner, there's always that one guy who has the boots that I'm speaking negatively about who gets extremely rattled in the comment section. This is not to anger people. This is just an attempt at summarizing what I am classifying as the worst or the most disappointing or really the weirdest football boot releases of 2020. I should also mention that if you are interested in any of these 5 boots, which you might actually be depending on what your preferences are, there will be links to all 5 down below in the description, which will take you to the review page on my website where you'll be able to pick them up below their normal retail prices with, of course, some SR4U coupon codes. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying this video and perhaps want to see more top 5 content on the channel, don't forget to support this one with a like and let me know specifically what you'd like to see down below in the comment section. And of course, if you're new here watching for the first time and don't want to miss out on weekly content on everything football boots, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you don't miss out when the next new video goes live. Now I want to be 100% clear with my pick at the 5 spot, which I should also mention being lower on the top 5 worst list is actually a good thing, sort of, but this is a football boot that I know a lot of people like that has for the most part had a positive response, but I can't get past the fact that the marketing behind it and what the final product actually is one of the most uninspired products we've seen in a very long time from the Nike brand, which is why at the 5 spot I've picked the Nike Phantom GT Elite. People are going to be so pissed. While being far from perfect, because I think there are some issues with the overall shape and fit, which has a lot to do with the way that they did the lacing system here, the Phantom GT Elite, whether you go for the low cut or the completely useless mid-cut variant with one of the dumbest collars I think we've ever seen from the Nike brand, they're very solid boots depending on what you're looking for. And I think what the Phantom GT is a football boot that a lot of Nike consumers have been asking for a long time, a wider variation of really the most popular line of football boots on the market, the Nike Mercurial series. That is effectively what the Phantom GT is, with the addition of some micro texturing on the surface, which they call generative texture, and really hyped up as something special, but it feels like texture that we've seen on football boots hundreds of times at this point. My issue with this boot, and the reason why I have it on this list, more so as disappointing rather than being truly bad, is because it's just a very lackluster attempt by Nike. If you compare this to Mercurials in pretty much every single category, aside from the way that it's shaped, it's worse, but it costs the same amount of money. It's lacking in almost any kind of interesting or effective tech, I would say. It's less responsive. The lockdown isn't as good. The stud pattern isn't as aggressive. The sole plate isn't as good as the Mercurials, and they're not as light. So if you fit in Mercurials, you'd just be better off buying those over a pair of Phantom GTs. And I think something that a lot of people have been complaining about with the Nike brand over the course of 2020 is the lack of variety. Why would you really buy this if the Mercurial is just that much better? Now, if you were already surprised by what I had at the 5 spot, you're going to be equally as surprised by what I have at the 4 spot, because if there's one brand that I've been accused of being overly positive about, it's Mizuno. But at the 4 spot, as more so a disappointing boot rather than one that I think is bad per se, is the Mizuno Rebula Cup, of course the made in Japan variation. Now this is a boot that makes the list, again, not because I think it's bad, because honestly, I prefer the feel of this boot over the Rebula 3 that it replaces. The issue is, so many people loved what Mizuno did with the Rebula 3, and rightfully so, where the Rebula Cup kind of feels like a little bit of a step backwards from a tech perspective. Visually, especially in the launch colorway that I have right here, it is extremely lackluster. The quality of the leather, the little memory foam inserts, the synthetic material through the midfoot, it all feels really nice. And of course it carries the same sole plate and stud pattern over from the Rebula 3. But I think from a tech perspective, people were really disappointed that this is such a simple pair of football boots. I think Mizuno probably made the right choice in terms of really trying to appeal to their main customer base, but I think the Rebula 3, for the first time in a long time, drew a lot of new people into the Mizuno brand. So for them to go kind of in a more old school direction with its replacement, there were a lot of upset people in the internet comment section. So not for everybody, certainly not a bad pair of football boots, but very disappointing to a lot of people. Now the first 2 boots that I've picked on this list are definitely on it more so for the sake of disappointment rather than truly being bad options. But the next one that I have is really one of those football boots that makes you question why anybody would pay $275 for them, especially given how long they've already been out. The boot I'm talking about is the 2020 refresh, the Adidas Nemeziz Plus. Not 20 plus, that would make too much sense. It's just the Nemeziz Plus, which is the replacement for the 19 plus. Totally not confusing. So the Nemeziz Plus is everything that you didn't like about the Nemeziz 19 Plus, but with the addition of some micro texturing, which is eerily similar to what you're gonna find on the Phantom GT that Nike is touting as this flagship feature. I don't think it's a big deal on those. It's certainly not a big deal on these. And really, the Nemeziz Plus, as it is now, is a laceless football boot that is easily the worst laceless option within the current Adidas lineup. I know laceless boots aren't for everybody, and I've been known as somebody that has not been a big fan of laceless football boots pretty much from day one. I think the Copa 20 Plus is excellent. I think that the Adidas X Ghosted Plus is arguably even better, although they're both very different football boots. Pred 20 Plus, I'm not as crazy about, but it's far better than the boot that I'm holding right here in my hands. Again, it's just one of those situations where it already wasn't selling. They've added some texture. They've come out with some interesting colorways. This definitely being better than these as an example, but I'm just not sure who is interested at this point in time in a laceless Nemeziz model that looks as weird as these do and feel as mediocre as they do. Again, not a terrible pair of football boots, but certainly not a good option. Now at the 2 spot, I have a pair of football boots that honestly, if you didn't watch my initial review, you might not even know that these even exist. And I'm a little bit disappointed to have them on this list because I really like this brand. It's a small brand. I really enjoyed this brand when I was younger, but they're kind of in shambles right now, and this is definitely not their best effort. The Umbro Tocco Pro, which by the way retails for $250. Now when these boots were first unveiled, I was actually pretty excited about them because I thought they looked interesting in pictures. Some people would argue that this is an extremely ugly pair of football boots, and the more time that I've spent looking at them, the more I tend to agree with that. It kind of looks like the front of the toe is like a fat bumblebee or something like that. It's just not the most attractive silhouette by any stretch of the imagination, but the combination of kangaroo leather with D3O foam running throughout is really interesting and feels all right. The issue with this boot is that it's kind of just a mishmash of features that don't really work all that well together. The midfoot is a textile/knit material, flows into a low-cut collar design. The fit of the boot is not ideal, I would say. I'm not sure whose foot they modeled the shape of this off of. The heel lockdown and general comfort is well below average for a modern day top-end football boot. And the new sole plate and stud pattern design, I think, is a big improvement over what they were doing before, but they still didn't really solve the problem that a lot of people had with Umbro boots, in that the studs are shorter than any other FG stud pattern, and it is an FG stud pattern for the record. People didn't like it before. I'm not sure why they would like it now. They should have fixed that. Not to mention, these are $250. So you literally would have to pick these over any of the options from the big brands, but also pay more money than a Tiempo or a Puma King Platinum or a Copa 20.1, or I guess save a little bit money and pass on the Copa 20 Plus, but you can find them on sale anyways for less than $250. So why you would buy these over anything else in this category is beyond me. Which brings us to the #1 worst football boot release of 2020, brought to you by puregripsocks.com, link in the description, by the way. And this is one that I honestly did not want to pick because I think that this brand had their best football boot ever this year in the form of the Furon V6 Pro. That actually almost made my top 5 best boots of the year. Unfortunately, the other thing that they did this year was not so great, which is why the New Balance Tocco V3 Pro Laceless is, unfortunately, in my opinion, the worst boot of the year. This is a football boot that can be defined in one word: mediocre. It's just one of those football boots that isn't unwearably bad, but there's absolutely nothing about it that would make you want to pick these over any other option from any other brand. And that's something that a brand like New Balance really needs to do extremely well when they put out new products, because they're always fighting against the bigger, more popular brands in the football boot industry. And this is pulling nobody away from laceless Adidas boots. The knitted upper, while it looks all right, I like the pattern they've incorporated. It just feels very plasticky. It's hard, it's rigid, it doesn't have any kind of a sock-like sensation, and honestly, it feels like the first gen laceless boots that Adidas was making 4 years ago, and laceless boots have progressed quite a bit since then. The lockdown with the laceless design is about as subpar as it gets. The sole plate carries over from the Tocco V2, which is all right, but again, nothing special. It's not drawing anybody to this boot whatsoever. And then the shape of the collar, again, it's just one of those collars that seems to have a design that's there to just look like a collar. There's not much about this football boot that makes any sense. It doesn't really have any redeeming qualities about it. And given that the Tocco line, while I don't think it was really gaining any momentum in terms of popularity, the boots seem to be improving with each new generation. They took a huge step back with the V3, however. And there you have it, folks. Those are my picks for the top 5 worst / most disappointing boots of 2020. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Feel free to share all of your picks down below in the comment section, and try your best not to get angry at me, because this was not a personal attack at anybody who wears any of these 5 boots, although this disclaimer doesn't matter. You're gonna leave your nasty comment anyways. Nonetheless, if you guys did enjoy this video, please don't forget to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in any of these boots for whatever reason, and some of them I understand why you'd be interested, links to get them can be found down below in the description, where you can find them at a discounted price with some SR4U coupon codes. If you have any questions, as always, leave it down below in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.